Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special Thursday edition of Rivalz Race Chat. I'm Clinton Jeffrey, along with my partner in crime, Adam Ross. Adam, welcome to the show. Thank you, Spencer, as always, for producing. And thank you, all you viewers, for joining us here on GeForceTV.net. Still simulcast on Facebook, but looking to make the migration over. Adam, let's talk about that quickly. We always talk about, we're probably bad at the show for doing this. We always talk about all this great stuff we've got coming on, and we lead into something and don't really give the payoff for a week or two later. But I know you spent last weekend and a lot of this week, we've spent a lot of this past few weeks talking to different content producers. And I think the gathering of the storm of all these, as we say, influencers, content producers that are joining up with GeForce along with all of our production, we're going to have a great central platform for everybody to find what they love. And what I'm really looking forward to is a lot of these new people we're talking to I'm not fans of their form of motorsport. So I'm excited to watch their programming and to see what other things come about.
We're not fans yet. I think more importantly, we're not familiar, Clinton, and it's been really exciting reaching out to the different people because everyone so far that we've talked to has been interested in hearing more. And that's what excites me is nobody has said, this is a bad idea. Find something else to do. Everyone's been intrigued. They want to see how it's going to develop. And I'm pretty excited about how it's going to develop, even if we're just two black screens, just voices with black boxes on the screen. That's fine with me. They say you're not supposed to throw the director under the bus, right? Like when something happens, you just work right through it. And I just toss Spencer directly in the path of that bus. Here we are. Look at us go.
I'm laughing because on the inside, you know me, I'm like, there's black screens on the screen. And then you throw them under the bus. So we can always count on you to jump behind the driver's seat and roll it back and forth a few times over any of us when we need it.
We know he's going to get it right. But before we roll any further, has it been like this all season? This is our 25th show. If I'm looking at the credits, right? This is show number 25. Have we always had that promotional shot where you look like RoboCop and I look like Doofy from Scary Movie?
Yes.
Like I got this big dumbass grin. You're there looking so cool and chic, and I'm just there with a big stupid grin on my face, sharing it to my Facebook week after week. It's no wonder I still have friends.
Credit for it. I think that was one of Spencer's or Greg's. Hey, if you want a new headshot, you can get yours. Of course, I'm not bitching because I look like RoboCop, so I'm okay with that. But let's talk about about some of the cool stuff that's coming up, Adam. We're getting towards basically car show season, and then before we're into outdoor racing season, as us iRacers have been calling it lately. And I don't think I can really call myself an iRacer because I don't partake in it, but I do promote a few of the best leagues around with some great partners. So we're excited about that. And pretty cool. So, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I got the things off my chest I really wanted to get off my chest. Clint, we're light on news this week, although you know what we didn't talk about? Did you see pictures from Lincoln Speedway on the weekend where they ran 410 sprint cars?
Yeah, a couple of them, yes, I did.
Those grandstands were full all the way down to the bottom row, top to bottom, jammed with people, bundled up to watch race cars. That was a cool shot.
I think a lot of that size of the crowd, obviously amazing racing and many years of doing it, but I recall years in the past where they're shoveling out and still getting the races in. I mean, that's the type of attitude that the fans know if they truck 3-4 hours to get down to Lincoln, that the promoters there and the track guys are going to do everything they possibly can to get the racing in, kind of like Dirt Week was back in the day. Whether it snowed or not, it took a damn tsunami to put that place out of business for the day. And kudos to Lincoln for getting it done. And I guess it pays to be the icebreaker every year. And if you're looking at crowds.
And I'm looking for a picture here on Facebook, which is sometimes harder than others, but here we go. Is this?
I just wanted to see how long you could squint in silence into your camera.
Why don't you piss right off? I'm going to share this picture to our messenger. See, the thing is, I have a problem. can I admit to my problem? I am
Yes, please do.
addicted. I'm addicted to binge watching shows on Netflix. Um, so I didn't do a lot of show prep. I saw messages flying in back and forth talking about what's coming up on the show, and I've just been chilling out, vegging, and watching episode after episode of Homeland on Netflix. I'm absolutely addicted to it. So I'm doing my prep right now. That's why I just sent Spencer the picture. I mean, if it's not up on the screen yet, I'll be a little bit disappointed. But February 22nd, look at the crowd that showed up to Lincoln Speedway. I believe the picture was from Mike Mallet. I didn't even have a closer look in the stands, or at who had posted it. It's a shot from someone sitting in the grandstands, looking down the length of the grandstands. It's fairly mind blowing because up here, Clinton, as you know, it's really hard to draw a crowd until you get to the end of the school year. You really have the end of June until Labor Day weekend to draw your big crowds. Outside of that, you better have a special event, or it's tough to get people to come out. And here they are in February, jamming the place.
Awesome deal for those guys. I've been trying to get down to Port Royal for a couple of years. The owners and the promoter come up to the Canadian Spare Car Nationals every year, and we've hosted them for the last 2 or 3 years now, and they always tell us to come down. So we're going to take a road trip to Port Royal. But let's get on with the rundown, as Spencer and I did do our show prep tonight. So we'll take control, and you can just tow along. I'm only bugging you, and you know what? I was going to get sarcastic with you and be like, "Hey, are you going to play today? Or are you going to screw the dog all day?" But then I have days like that, so there's many times when you carried the show, as when I went on vacation, you had to do it all by yourself.
See,
so I'm okay.
You're lying. That is not why you're not pushing the issue today. The reason you're not pushing me today is because you know that your fuse is actually this long today because you've had a shit day, and I know it because I've talked to you once or twice. And you know that if you engage with me in a battle of wits, it's bad enough on a good day, but you're having a bad day. You'd be done before it started.
You know what didn't get put in the rundown? Our argument. And this is, for those of you who are new, this is classic dual airbags. This is me and I. We fought like this at the races on the air for 20 plus years. So I'm so excited about this. Okay. Last week, Adam and I got into a discussion about our NASCAR Pinty's race. Okay. So, and I know I'm jumping way out of line. Spencer, don't change the rundown. We'll just have this argument and then we'll get back on track maybe. So Adam said to me, we were talking about who we should get for grand marshals for the race, and we've thrown all kinds of ideas around.
Now, hold on. Just wait before you do it. Before you say that,
let me say this. Just let me say this. You can set this up any way you want, Sunshine, because I'll wipe the floor with you. So you lay it out. I'll relax. I want the viewers to pay attention because this is going to be good.
Well, I want the viewers to participate on YouTube and on Facebook. I want to hear your suggestions. Who would be, no holds barred, who would be the best grand marshal to bring out to Ohsweken Speedway? And then once we talk about what you suggested, Clint, and what I suggested, okay, we can have the fans still keep coming in. Who would be the best grand marshal, the biggest bang, get people excited? They might even buy a ticket just to see it, because you're going to tell your story, and it's a fairly compelling argument, and I'm still going to blow it out of the water. But that's how we should start this. Put in your mind who you think would be absolutely blockbuster. Don't hold back.
No, and Spencer's going to have to run through them. I'm not reading any comments right now, so you have to fill me in if any good ones come in. Okay, now, I was talking about, I was in Daytona with some of the higher-ups. We were talking about getting Mario Andretti, and then one of our buddies happened to be hanging around AJ Foyt at Daytona. So we said, hey, what if we got AJ Foyt? So I come back and I said, by Tuesday I was all cranked up, and I'm like, how about we get both of them, Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt, to sign autographs? And you said, why don't you get? Do you remember who you suggested? You gave me 2 suggestions. Go ahead, tell them who you thought would be a better. You said the 2010 women's gold medal hockey team. And the other one was, who was the other one? Because it was
Theo Fleury was on my mind. We were tossing names out, and that's what you grabbed.
No. no. We weren't tossing names out. We had a heated argument about, and you dug your heels in. So just listen to that, fans. I said Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt would be the perfect grand marshals for this race to come sign autographs, get interviewed, do whatever we got to do. Gentlemen, start your engines. Adam thinks that the 2010 women's gold medal hockey team or Theo Fleury would be a, quote, better fit for this audience. How the hell are you? You did say that.
Nope.
You said
I said it would be a better fit to draw an audience.
Okay.
What is the demographic you are appealing to? Everyone who was already going to be at that race would love to see AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti. You're absolutely right. You're a promoter. Your job is to get new people to the racetrack, not please the people who are already there. That's what you do by putting on the show. But when you go outside the box with concerts that you're going to run, midways you're going to put on, when you hire a grand marshal, you've got to go outside the box. You've got to go to a draw that people who were not already going to go to Ohsweken Speedway would go. And that wasn't my only argument towards that, but I do have another side to that argument. If you want to go there, I'm not sure if you do or not, Clint.
You alluded that Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt were inappropriate for the current audience we have. And then you suggested the girls' hockey team and a retired NHL guy from way out west. Okay?
Yep.
I just think you're out of line a little bit. Spencer, please tell me we've got some comments. There's got to be some people on my side.
There's a few comments. People have been chiming in.
Even someone to lay. Now, it's funny you say David Ayres because the day after we brought that up because we do have a connection to him in a roundabout way, and that was discussed to getting him. Okay, so we love it. But here's my thoughts, Adam, just to what you said, okay? If we were using it as a huge draw, yes, I could see drawing outside the box. But I'm confident as the promoter that we're already going to have a massive crowd there. We're going to have all the tickets sold we need, and I don't mean to be cocky, but it's looking to be amazing.
So you trying to bring in those two would just be an ego stroke. That's it. That's it. You're pleasing people who don't need to be pleased because they're already being pleased. And even at 80 years old, AJ Foyt would probably still punch you in the chops for taking him to watch those pace laps. There's a man who drove in sprint cars without a roll cage, and he's going to watch these cars come out of turn number 4 and think, well, when does the race start?
Don't forget, we have 2 nights of 360 racing with.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to be.
But hear me out.
I think it's going to be great.
So, stroking my ego I don't need to do that. We've brought in enough big stars over the day. Getting them would just be another accomplishment. Yeah, but it's not about stroking the ego. I think our fans would think it was super cool to have 2 of the baddest guys to ever drive sprint cars, like you said, both NASCAR winners and have a big history there. The match just fits. And at this point in time, I don't think we need a grand marshal to sell tickets because I think the event's going to sell tickets. I think a grand marshal is just a bit of sprinkles on top of an already tasted cake. So that's just my thoughts on it. Now, if you're looking, I'm all about thinking about outside the box. We've talked about that. We've talked about all kinds of ideas. So we like to hear everybody's thoughts. Let us know who you think would be
we've got
a good grand marshal. Read them off.
We've got some great comments. Jeff Gingras is suggesting Kenny Wallace. Mike Pendergrass, the 1980 USA men's hockey team, which was the grand marshal for Las Vegas on the weekend. David Ayres, good suggestion from Stephen Petty. Mike Wick says AJ Foyt is cool. Dusty DeBoer says the Tanner Fox deal from a couple of years ago was good. Now, Mike Wick also said Adam is right. I'm not used to seeing that. You've got to remember, too, Clinton, when I get into these fights with you, I know that I'm always going to have the less popular opinion. I know that you are always going to have the numbers, but one person did suggest. Who else did I suggest to you? I said, if you're going to bring a racing personality, there's one person that would sell tickets. And Wesley Shaw suggested him.
I don't recall. Who was it?
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Wickens? Yeah. All those things are possibilities, and that's one thing I'd like to say. From the Ohsweken side, we're not dreaming. I mean, when we wanted something, we went out and got it. We got Casey Kane through a Twitter message, and we started that negotiation. We were able to bring in Kyle, You know, Larson, Christopher Bell, Stuart Friesen this year, Tony Stewart last year, Rico Abreu. So we can go out and get these guys if they're available. Just to rebuttal, Kenny Wallace has signed up for a ride for that. So, you know, he's actually putting together a deal. So Kenny
let's use this as a segue. Let's use this conversation as a segue, Clinton, because what this was all about was promoting. Old school, grassroots, how do you get people into the stands promoting? And that's exactly what our first topic is about. Kevin Harvick did something that NASCAR couldn't do it. Like, it's not in their mandate. But what he did has brought a level of excitement to the Truck Series that it hasn't had. I mean, I love the Truck Series. It's my favorite racing to watch. Of the big three NASCAR series, I prefer watching the trucks to anything else. But what Kevin Harvick has done with this bounty that's been put on Kyle Busch, so $50,000 from him, and someone else has matched it with another $50,000. So it is now a $100,000 bounty to beat Kyle Busch in any race that Kyle Busch races a truck in. How much, percentage-wise, Clinton, how much is viewership going to go up for that truck race, for the next opportunity to beat Kyle Busch? And how much is physical, actual spectator attendance going to go up because of this gimmick?
A lot. I think it's brilliant. You know, we used to have it at the short tracks back in the day. Whether you love to see Rowdy win or you're sick of seeing him win, you know, I think it's awesome, and I think it is going to be a huge deal. If you're at the Atlanta promoters, you are sucking this up and saying, "Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Harvick, for the amazing gift." And then I think it was the president of Gander Truck. So Harvick put up 50, then Gander RV put up the other 50. So it's going to be $100,000. So it's amazing. And the first guy to take the bait looks like is Chase Elliott, right? So we saw that come out today. Chase Elliott will drive for Gallagher Motorsports. And then right before it went to air, I've not been able to find anything else about it. So there we see Chase Elliott going to team up with GMS and take an aim at the Kyle Busch bounty. But then throw up the other picture that came out around 8:30 tonight, and it was "Tell them the law is coming. We are GMS," and it's Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. So I struggled to find any real story on the Larson deal, but it looks like they're hinting that both of those guys are going to suit up for GMS and go after the extra cash, which is super exciting. And, you know, this brings up the argument. You know, there's argument about Cup guys in there, but I think this is going to be the one race when everybody's going to be happy to see a bunch of Cup guys get in there and duke it out.
Truthfully, most of the drivers, and I'd like to have a talk with Stuart Friesen off the air, Clinton, about racing with Kyle Busch, about what it's like to be in the field when he's out there. But I'll bet even off the record, without any cameras rolling, Stuart would say, "I love it when Kyle Busch is out there racing because it shows us how good we need to be." He can be beat. Sheldon Creed battled with him side by side. Sheldon Creed passed him in that race. Over the long run, Kyle Busch had the best truck, had the best run. He's the best driver. But I think there was a time when Xfinity Series, and even specifically the Xfinity Series, was getting watered down with Cup drivers to the point that you didn't know who the Xfinity drivers were. They had no identity. When you go to the trucks, you do. You've got Johnny Sauter, you've got Matt Kraft, and you always had Jack Sprague and, my goodness, Ron Hornaday, Mike Skinner. Like, the Truck Series has always had drivers. It's always had an identity. Xfinity got lost a little bit in the middle because you had a bunch of kids trying to make it, and you had another huge bunch of kids who just weren't ever going to make it, and then you had a few stragglers at the back that were just trying to be a part of the show. There was no real, who are these guys? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Just go back to what Mike S. said. He said it kills the smaller teams. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, if you're not going to totally eliminate the Cup guys 100%, I think I'd rather see a couple of them going at Kyle Busch. That's a good question also. Do you feel it hurts the smaller teams? I think I'm kind of with you. It shows them where they need to be. And if you want to beat the best, you've got to be the best.
Doesn't kill the smaller teams, and I'll tell you why. Most of the places they go, all the trucks get in. There's only a few races a year where all the trucks don't qualify. And when all the trucks do get in, I'm going to pick on Norm Benning, and I'm going to pick on Jennifer Jo Cobb. Clinton, you and I have been to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. take a brand new Dodge Grand Cherokee. No, let's take a Chevrolet because Strickland's GMC helps us out a little bit. Let's take a brand new Chevy Silverado off the lot of Strickland's GM. We could run faster around Moseport than some of the trucks in that race. So those
100%.
small teams aren't helping. And it's not an exaggeration. Like, you see how early they let off. And I'm talking football fields earlier than anyone else because they can't afford brake pads. They roll into the.
I spotted Moss Corner the last 4 years now for the trucks, right? And us spotters joke about some of them because we could run faster up the Andretti straight than some of these trucks are. They come down pissing and farting down through the thing. They're not running worth a shit. You know, it's not good. But I agree.
And I'm not speaking to be disrespectful to those teams, but I'm saying, look, there's protecting smaller budget teams, and there's enabling people to come out when they're really not adding to the show. So I say, if you're a legitimate team trying to grow, and a great example I'll give you of that is Mario Gosselin in the Xfinity Series. There's someone who showed up. The equipment wasn't the best, but they were trying hard, and they ran a partial schedule. Then they ran a full schedule. Now they're running multiple cars in a full schedule, and they're improving their equipment. So you go from a top 30 car to a top 25 car, then to a top 20 car. And then the next jump is even harder. So those are small teams that I want to protect. They're good for the sport. But the people who continually just come out with junk because they can fill the field, that's not really a small team. That's just people that are doing it because they love doing it and they want to be there. But I think even they would tell you they don't need anyone looking out for them. I mean, they're just happy to be there.
Good point. We see Brian's Farm come up on the bottom of the screen. Always lots of actions, whether you're both of their locations in Puslinch or Trenton. Check them out, briansfarm.com. Great new supporters here of our show and the Rivalz Race Chat and everything going on at Rush Weekend Speedway. And, of course, the new presenting sponsors of Brighton's Apple Fest. That's briansfarm.com. Check online for the newest auction coming out. So we talked about Chase taking the bait. We talked about the 100,000 truck bounty. I guess the next big story in NASCAR coming down the pipe from our neck of the woods would be the announcement this week that all Pinty's races are going to pay at least $10,000 to win. GP3R is going to pay $11,000 to win, and our Weekend Speedway, we jacked that up to $25,000 on the dirt this year for the first year. It'll be $26,000 next year and $27,000 the year after to coincide with our 25th anniversary. That was something that went on in Daytona. We were watching the truck race there in the suites, and we were talking, and it came up. Hey, what's your anniversary this year? We said 25th years. We got talking with Tony, and he said, well, let's make it 25. So we partnered up, and it's going to be $25,000 to win, which is the highest paying race in the history of the Pinty Series by a large margin, and we're super proud to be putting that on. We feel it's going to continue to grow this field of cars, and super exciting, Adam. So as the announcer for the series, what are your thoughts on raising the purses across the country and, of course, at home with us for the big one?
You know, I think it's an important gesture, Clint. You know, these teams, that series has been unique even when it was CASCAR. Unique in the fact that that series ran on sponsorship dollars even before the premier NASCAR series. Like, even top-notch NASCAR series were still racing for winners' purses, and when Winston Cigarettes would put up huge money, now they rely on sponsorship. Well, Canada's been relying on sponsorship for years, and some of the higher-funded teams were getting into $250,000 deals. It almost made the purse less important. In fact, a lot of us remember when CASCAR raced the Toronto Indy for no purse. They put it to a vote, you know, the team owners and the drivers, and said, look, we can do this. It's good for our sponsors. You guys want to go and race for no money, but in front of all those fans? And they did it because that was important. But it kind of left the purse behind. I do like that NASCAR is now trying to catch up and make the purse a big deal, make winning a big deal. That'll really help the budget of some of these teams. I mean, and it looks good. $25,000 to win at Rush Weekend, that's enormous. And that race is a wild card race to begin with. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, the talks continue. We have bi-weekly talks with the NASCAR folks in planning this event. We're not just kind of setting and forgetting it. It's a deal we're massaging every week. Let's say lots of irons in the fire, lots of gears turning there. We're looking to make it a major event. So if you haven't logged on to npsondirt.com, that's NASCAR Pinty Series on Dirt. So it's npsondirt.com for all your ticket and camping reservations. I can tell you the buzz continues to grow. Do not wait. You're going to be left behind. It's only going to take one or two more of our big announcements to come out, and you could find camping sold out in a hurry. So get on there and get those right away. Ticket sales are going well. Still lots of great tickets available. You can go on to our website, pick your seats, and purchase them in advance right now and pick wherever you want to sit for that major event. Exciting news for us, Adam, and still more guys in talks. Hopefully by next week we'll be able to announce a couple more drivers that have picked up rides. Let's talk about what we know. So we've talked about what we know. We've talked about speculation. Let's talk about a little bit about the Quebec side of things. You know, there's still some great teams out there. You mentioned to me a couple teams that came across my desk in the last 24 hours. Kerry Mix, Dave Jacobs, and, you know, Team Dumoulin out there in Quebec, and then Lacroix. So they've all got multiple cars. They've got multiple seats open. We haven't heard a buzz about any of these teams as far as who may be coming or going. You know, we've heard rumblings with Hathaway, Steckley, Kennington, the Bray teams. You know, curious what your thoughts are on the eastern end of things and some of those guys. Obviously, Dave Jacobs not from down there, but from those guys I mentioned.
Quebec works in mysterious ways. I shouldn't say mysterious, but they band together, and you'll hear big names from down there that we wouldn't have thought about that get a ride with other Quebec teams. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see someone like David Hebert, modified racer from down Granby and Drummondville, to hook up a deal with a Dumoulin, or even in a Steckley ride, you know, because there's a GM Paillet connection there. So I think there will be some people show up from the Quebec scene. We got a great question from Andy Miller that you should field, Clinton. What are they doing for pit stops at Ohsweken? Excuse me.
That's a great question. That's one of the gears we got going to. I want to get back to that, but while we're on topic of drivers in Quebec, I just had a brain fizzle come into my mind. Okay, Steyrs has a deal with Kennington to rent a car. Who's going to go in that car is still up for grabs. Would it be Glenn? Would it be JJ Illy? But I just thought Glenn's new association with Kevin Lovey's. What happened? What would you think about Poirier in a car at Ohsweken? There's a guy we have not talked about. Multiple winner of the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals. Multiple big car winner with the modifieds back in the day. And I'm not sure what he did before big block modifieds, but there's a good chance he probably drove a street stock at some point. So interesting to think. What's your thoughts on Poirier?
He could be great. Now, everyone knows Poirier has some health challenges, and I don't know if 100 laps in anything would be good for him, but if anyone's willing to try to be someone like him. And you know the format. You and I had this conversation about pit stops at Ohsweken this week, and I don't think it. Well, I think we can say it. We had talked about the logistics of building a pit road, and the challenge is you would have to completely enclose the infield at Ohsweken to protect the teams if they were to have to set up down in the infield. It would kind of ruin the look of the speedway. Like the speedway doesn't need an infield pit road, so you almost. Other places that have that use it on a weekly basis. Outside of this race, you would never want to use that at Ohsweken, I wouldn't think.
Well, to answer Andy's question, if everybody keeps it quiet, we can maybe talk about what the plan is. Now, the discussions we've been having, I mean, I don't know how to put it out there. I'll probably get shit for it, but it is what it is. Let's be straight. I'm pushing for a break race. I think a segmented race of 20, 30, and 50 is what I pitched. We're still in negotiations to see how it's going to work out. These are the concerns we have is someone like a Stuart Friesen comes out, his car's not running good, come the feature. We don't want him hung out there for 100 laps just bagging it out, run at the back. We want to give them a chance to work on it. So I think if you did 20 laps, come in, you know, the cars that don't come in obviously line up ahead of the ones that do. We have a 5 to 10 minute break there, whatever is suitable for NASCAR. Then we go at it. It makes for good television breaks and stuff like that too. Then we run 30 laps, another break, and then a 50 lap finish to the race is what we've been asking for. And, you know, obviously if it doesn't end up being that, it's got to be what's best for everybody. But I seem to think like the more I mulled that over and talked it over with some of our people, and the veterans in the dirt world and the NASCAR, that seems like a good way to go. What's your thoughts on that format first, and then we'll talk about how many laps would be green and how we would handle caution. So first, Adam, what are your thoughts on the brakes?
I love it. I think it's a great idea. Um, the challenge, and I'm just looking through some of the comments, the way saying you could still have the pits outside of the track. From my experience, when we go to tracks where the pits are outside, so Autodrome Chaudière, the pits are outside. It's very difficult from a logistics standpoint to pit outside of the track with any semblance of safety and with any added value to the show. You want to enable these teams to work on their race cars a little bit, but it also needs to be part of the overall show. So I think the way we've got it set up, if you take that break, let the cars go back into the pits, going to have cameras on the action all the time. People will be able to watch that way. And the breaks are pretty quick. You're only talking about 3 to 5 minutes at a time. Then you're back on track running again. I mean, I just think a lot of times I hear your ideas, Clinton. I think, yeah, maybe that'll work. Maybe it won't. This one I heard, I thought, man, you really thought that one through.
Yeah, the other thing we talked about was someone asked me how would caution laps, and I'm reminded of what happened at Dirt Week this year. And the big complaint about the 200 was every time they went to a courtesy caution, they burned off 3-4 laps at a time, and the race just got what I call cautioned out. I mean, the first time I spotted for Gary Clute that happened, we had all the great setup, and we just got yellowed out at the end to a point where you didn't have enough green laps to make anything happen. I think I would like to see it 100 green flag laps and three stages. So that's what I've been asking for with NASCAR. That's the discussion we've been pushing for a little bit. We'll let you know in a couple weeks if that's where it comes to be. But just from our experience at the track, the other thing is if you run hot stops, Adam, right, then you have teams bring in special pit crews. Is it dangerous? And let's face it, the crowd we're going to have there in the pits. I mean, last year when we had our superstars, you couldn't even barely get heat in these sprint cars because there were just people everywhere. So it's not conducive to hot pit stops. I think having a break race is exciting. We've also talked about, getting a big screen in for that night so all the fans can watch everything that goes on and also be a part of the midway and all the other stuff. Like if we have a grand marshal on the stage, we've also talked about a concert. So, as we talk about it, somebody can come in and walk around, experience everything at 2:00, or maybe you just get up in the grandstands at 3:00 and watch everything from the concert to the interviews to the pre-race show, all right from your seat. So, I mean, don't hold me if it doesn't all come together, but that's what we're brainstorming, and that's what we've been working towards for our Summer Nationals.
And our viewers are making some good points saying, we don't want too many yellow flag laps because you want to see as much green flag action as we can. And those things will all be considered.
T-Watts has a great point. Use the warm-up track as pits for all them, because by the end of the night, we'd be done. They could set up pit stalls all on there. And the other thing is, with our expanded deal with GeForceTV.net for the Thursday micro sprints, we've got a proposal in right now to put cameras on that micro sprint track that Spencer could control. So on Thursdays, we'll have multiple speed shots and extra angles for the micro sprints. And on Friday nights during push-off and all that, we're going to have some deadly angles. So we would have cameras already in place. It's a brilliant one. And this is why we have these discussions, right? Because we can plan a race together instead of just an ass like me trying to put it all together myself. So we love the input. I think it's super exciting. Okay, that's a good point, Adam. Andy Miller says, no, 240 lap segments with a 20 lap dash at the end. What are your thoughts? Longer at the beginning, longer at the end?
Longer at the end. Because at some point, so the All-Star race does the shortest segment at the end because they want sparks, fireworks, crashes. We want excitement, but you don't want someone to have to restart 15th with 10 laps to go and think but if someone starts 15th with 50 laps to go and they've made the right adjustments, they're going to put on a show. So I'm not saying Andy, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that to think about it for what it is, we want a legitimate, and I say we as though I have any say in this. I do not. It's Clinton Jeffrey and NASCAR and Glenn Stiers. But you want a legitimate race where the best racer with the best race car takes the checkered flag and stands in victory lane on what's going to be a very historic night.
Yeah, we're super cool. We appreciate everybody keeping the buzz up. Let us know if you got any ideas or suggestions. Get your camping and your tickets. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Just along the lines of the weekend schedule, this NASCAR wrinkle kind of caused us to move a lot of the other moving parts around. You know what it reminds me of? You know those little square puzzles you get at when you were a kid and the one square is missing and you move everything around and try and get it's kind of what putting the schedules together like. We've also got our brother and sister tracks we try and mesh with the other series. It's a whole schmozzle when you start moving stuff around because when you change your heritage dates, you have to make sure you're not stepping on anybody else's date. So schedule will be out. We're going to release it online a week from tomorrow. So it has to go to print by then. So we'll be ready to release it all. 25th season at our Weekend Speedway kicks off Victoria Day weekend and goes to the Canadian Sprint Car National September 18th and 19th. And everything up in the middle. So it's going to be amazing.
And while
Next
I'm thinking about it,
go ahead.
While I'm thinking about it, GeForce TV, folks, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure give us a thumbs up. Make sure you click subscribe. Make sure you click on the notifications so that when we do go live, you're going to be notified. It's going to pay off for you, folks, because there's going to be some really good content throughout the year. And I'm excited because I'm looking at the YouTube numbers, Clinton, and they're bigger than they have been. They're starting to grow, which is great. Our Facebook numbers are down a touch because our YouTube numbers are up. I'm excited about where this is going.
Yeah, and of course, we're not doing this just to be a pain in the ass for everybody. We really have a plan here to make this better for all of us. So we appreciate you sticking over with us. YouTube is a bit more free for us to do the things we want to do, and we appreciate it. And like Adam said, it's very important. I just turned on my notifications. Like, I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan. I watch all his stuff. So now I'm not sitting there checking. I get a notification when it comes on. I get a notification when the iRacing leagues take off on GeForce. It's been great. So make sure you have your notification turned on as well as subscribing. Next big story: Tom Deary walks away from Dirt Car, which is pretty interesting. Adam, there's been no talk about it as to why. And World of Outlaw and Dirt Car Chief Operating Officer Tom Deary resigned and said there was no comment, just kind of packed it in and walked away. So we certainly don't want to speculate as to what that is about, but pretty shocking news, Adam. He seemed like they'd really taken that company, gone a long way with it. And
we remember the days of Bobby Hartsleaf, the folks from South Africa who came in when they bought out Glenn Donnelly and took over Clinton. They were a different breed themselves. They took it a certain distance, and then in comes Tom Deary. People that have come and gone, but you've got Tom Deary, Brian Carter, you take Hartsleaf and that crew before them. The Deary family is the one constant for the last many number of years with World of Outlaws, World Racing Group, that have a deep, rich history in our sport. Deep history in auto racing as grassroots promoters through and through. So interesting to see what his next move will be. I'm sorry to see him go, Tom. I thought it was always a class act, a classy gentleman at the racetrack. But it'll be interesting to see how Brian Carter is able to carry the torch and steer the ship.
Yeah, it just emerged today around a few hours ago, so we'll get back to that. And want to welcome Stuart Friesen just joining us here on the show as a viewer. So, Stewie, if you're out there, glad to have you with us, and we're looking forward to having you come and join us for the summer at a couple events this year at our weekend. Adam, you had all those questions for him. We'll be working on getting Stu on in the next couple of weeks as we get closer to it to talk about everything that's gone on.
Don't tell him what my questions are. I don't want to ruin the surprise.
I wasn't even listening. I don't remember what you said, so it's all good.
Perfect.
So moving on, South African sprinters, a couple of our Canadian buddies, Cole Powell and Ryan Litt, got into this Pavement Outlaw sprint car in South Africa. Look at these machines. They look pretty wild. So two of them flew over there this week, and they've been doing some hot laps and getting ready to roll. Pretty wild-looking cars.
They are. They're they just are. The track is fascinating. This racetrack reminds me of indoor racing in Niagara Falls. It
Yeah, it
looks
is
very
tight.
flat, very narrow, and that's a lot of race car for that little racetrack. And look at what holds up the fence. Oh my God.
Pretty
Oh,
wild. Play it again, Spencer,
that's
if you can.
fabulous.
So pretty cool for those guys to get invited over there, Adam. We'll follow their progress. We'll have them on hopefully next week when they get back to discuss
Clint,
how things went, and it'll be good to hear what they thought of the trip and what a heck of a flight that is. That's like flying for a day and a half. It seemed like to get over to South Africa.
Spencer, I need you to play that again. Look at where the flagman stands. That's the other
Hey,
side of the fence. That's the business side of the fence. 4 feet in the air.
yep.
We go through more flag people that way. Oh my goodness. That's scary.
Pretty wild. So want to wish those guys luck when they're over there. And that brings us to our Burger Barn video of the week. Burger Barn, of course, world famous Burger Barn here in Six Nations. It's your destination for relaxed dining in a comfortable family atmosphere, featuring traditional favorites served with the Burger Barn twist. And while you're there, don't forget to stop off and fuel up at the brand new Travel Stop Petro Plus station. Make sure you check it out. Burger Barn, gift cards available from $2 to $200 denominations, a perfect gift for anyone. The other thing we want to mention is Roger from our G-Force Racing Leagues is having a driver get-together this Saturday, 10:30 at Burger Barn. So if you're driving in the G-Force Leagues, go down and see the guys at Burger Barn, and Roger and all the boys will be down there, and girls, having some iBurgers with their iRacing chat.
Clint, much like traditional racing, why is there not more female participation in iRacing?
Good question. But let's play the Burger Barn video of the week, which has some female participation. This one took the internet by storm this week. Look at these girls on their Segways. And we picked this one because Jay loves horses and racing. These kids are flying around. You don't need a helmet when you got a cowboy hat on. And look at these two girls ripping around. That is parenting done right, I think, right there, Adam. What's your thoughts on this one?
I'm in awe. Look at her turn around to get her hat. That fella has a lot of faith that they are not going to destroy that TV. He's watching America's Got Talent. These girls have talent.
I thought that was hilarious.
Fantastic.
I thought that is wicked. You just train them a few laps and then you sit back and let them go all day until the Segways run dry. But that's cool.
Man.
So if you're around, check out Burger Barn. You got to love the food there as we get rolling. Well, we're getting down to the bottom end of the show here, Adam. It's been great tonight. We still got a few more topics to get through, but the ODCC rules update, we had a conference call last night with the 4 promoters being Merrittville, Humberstone, Brighton, and Ohsweken. Sorted out the rules. I know some of the metric guys, if you're watching, there were some questions on the Hymans and stuff in the rear ends. We got that all sorted back to where it was the year before. The rule updates will be back out so everybody can just woe down a bit, and we got this one under control. So it's going to be all right. Just want to let everybody know we did have that talking. And that's so cool that we can get all the promoters. So that's the committee. It's the 4 promoters, the 4 champions, and the 4 tech officials. We all get on the call, talk about the rules. And, sometimes we had to call in. For example, there aren't really any metric guys on the committee is what we found out. So we called in a couple of them last night, had a talk with them, got their opinions on it. And I think everybody's happy to get things sorted out and continue on with the Ontario Dirt Competition Committee rules. If you're looking for those rules, you can go to the OntarioDirtComp.com. It's OntarioDirtComp.com. The updates will be up hopefully by tomorrow. Mini stocks, everything's are pretty much the same. We're rolling along. Speaking of that, Spencer, I threw you one last picture and asked you to be ready for this one on the fly. Merrittville is still looking for a race director, and they advertised on Facebook, Adam. Thoughts on being the race director at Merrittville? Storied place. Certainly not a job I'd want. I would rather lick the toilets at the Speedway than ever be the race director because it is probably the most pressure-packed job in the Speedway. You throw a guy like Doug Leonard, what he has to go through on Friday. Most guys are stressed just being a race director. He's traffic control up there like someone running the air traffic control at the airport. He's got all those systems that he's in charge of. Does a great job of it, but he was the former race director there in years gone by. They've had a few guys fill the shoe since. Thoughts on that? geez, we've been trying to rack our brain who'd be a good candidate, but I wouldn't want to nominate anybody for that job because I wouldn't want to do it myself.
No, you know what? We like to voice our opinions, Clinton, and we do so a number of times on a given night about different things that happen on the racetrack. The race director has to make a call on everything that goes on in a given night. So sometimes we shy away from something like, we want no part of this. We don't have to have this conversation. The race director does have to. Everything that happens on that racetrack has to be addressed, has to be dealt with. So it is the kind of thing where you need extreme focus, confidence, competence. It is a tough role.
Yeah, and you're going up against the slickest minds in the business, the craftiest drivers, the best crews. I mean, these guys watch every lap, and we know it as announcers. And the few times we are on the official side, I mean, myself more than you over the years, I find myself, you're watching it go down and you miss it. And you legit do, because there's 30 cars out there some nights. There's 24 cars. You're watching a battle over here, and the crew zone in on their guy back here, so they see every bump and kiss, but you're a crappy race director because you don't see it all. It's so tough. And, at Ashwika now, we're at the point where we can play a replay if we catch it. And Doug has that ability on occasion, very, very slim. Did we rely on that? Or we've never relied on it, but he's had the luxury, let's call it a time or two, where you can sit back and look at it. But look at the calls we've had to make this year. That was probably one of our most popular shows, was the Kruder versus Westbrook call last summer, where Kruder got in the back of Westbrook or Westbrook chopped Kruder, depending on what side of that fence you're on. We watched that a million times from two different angles, and we still get 50 different opinions from 50 different people on how that should have been done, who was at fault, what went wrong in that situation. You're never right.
And Doug called it on the spot without the use of replay, and he called it, we felt, was the right call. Now, there are people who disagree, Clinton, but in live time, he called something that other people dissected 50 times, watching in slow motion. It's an art. Being a good race director is not an easy thing to do.
JT Miller just asked, what does the Pinty's Series pay in a regular race? We covered that a bit earlier. JT, you might have missed it. It was 10 grand this year. Not sure what it was in the past, but 10 grand minimum, 11 at GP3R and 25 at Ashweekend. So yeah, a tough deal. Good luck to them. And on that side, former race director Tom Bealis, who stepped back to go with the family, got promoted, or I guess hired by the Southern Ontario Sprints. He'll be their traveling director this year, so he'll race maybe a few less events by doing that and getting away from both weekly at Merrittville and Humberstone, which was tough crew at both those spots, man. You had to box your way out of there some nights. So Motorama coming up, Adam. That's coming up in a couple weekends from now. It'll be the biggest show, of course, in this area for racing. It's going on in March there. I'm just trying to pull up those dates exactly. Dates will be March 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Moving days 12th. So the 13th, 14th, and 15th, that's the International Center right by the airport in Toronto, or Mississauga, I should say, right near Pearson. Always a good show. When we looked at what we were going to do with the show, and we always consider it's costly for us. There's no doubt it's an expensive promotion from the track side. But I think the deals we've been able to make the past few years and the relationships we've been able to stroke there make it worthwhile. So if you're a racing guy or girl or a team, it's always good to just get out there at some point over the weekend, cruise around, check out some of the offerings, do a bit of bench racing, see some of your favorite buds, and get it together. So we'll talk about Motorama in the coming weeks as we get closer to that. But want to thank them for everything they do for us. And then that wraps it up. GeForceTV.net. Make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications. And I'm not closing up the show. I'm just wrapping up the rundown, and now you can say whatever you want.
It sounded like you were wrapping up. Spencer, are you able to put that comment full screen? We just had a great segment idea. I think we really need to do this. I'm sure Spencer can make it happen. We need to record the one way on Friday nights and make a weekly segment called The Things That Doug Says. It would be golden. People used to love when the tower was all one room. we got more compliments on people being able to overhear what Doug Leonard was saying heatedly over the one-way radios than we did any of the stuff that you or me or Greg said.
Well, you'll see me occasionally when I hear Doug make a call over the radio. I'll come back and say, "Hey, Doug, can you give that back to us?" And then I'll put my microphone to my earphone. I've been considering giving Doug a referee microphone like they do in the NFL and the NHL. And this isn't a gimmick. This is seriously to add to the broadcast. We already have a camera right up in the tower where we could probably throw one on Doug. And then just like they go to the booth camera, we would go to Doug and he would tell the driver on camera, "You've been an ass, to the back you go." And sometimes, we could put that on the broadcast. And I think that's, I don't know if you caught any of the XFL games that have been going on, but they are wicked immersive. Like they've almost taken the NASCAR style or racing style of announcing sports and put announcer around the sideline. So right after that, quarterback throws an interception, there's a reporter right there saying, "Hey man, how do you get this turned back around on the next set?" And when the guy fumbles, they're right there on him and they're interviewing the coaches. And I love it. I think it's super exciting. They also have a lot of the players mic'd up. It's a real immersive style of watching football. I'm a big fan of it. And I think the more of that we can do, we've talked about testing in-car cameras this year. That's a big priority for us, to get a camera or two in some of these sprint cars so we can watch the in-car camera live as we go. I think that's going to be amazing. More speed shots, more push-off shots, just more angles.
And we should. Fran just mentioned we should talk about the official taking over for John Veach down at Humberstone Speedway, and we probably should. Cameron Thompson going to be hopping into the flag stand at Humberstone. So good for him. A young man who's been around racing his whole life, and I think he'll do a good job there.
Well, let's talk. He goes back generations, right, with his father and his grandfather, Don Thompson, Senior and Junior. And then when you look at Cameron's a good kid.
No,
just turned 6.
He's Don Thompson Senior's son. Okay,
I got that wrong. Cameron is a good young kid. He's been trained by some of the best officials that we know. We've been grooming him. He's working under Doug on Saturdays. He's working for us on Fridays now. We moved him out to the turn 4 spot. He had to fill in a couple of times last year when Kyle McKenzie couldn't make it, and it was seamless. So that shows he's doing a good job. He'll be a great asset down there at Humberstone. And so only 16 years old, but he a lot like Dale Schoeneman, older than his years with the flags in his hand. And great kid, man. So congrats, Cameron.
That's a young man's game anymore, Clinton. That's where you put the youthful people.
Yeah, so we're excited to have him with us as well, and congrats on that. It's super cool. GeForceTV.net, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the greatest programming you're going to see this side of the Mississippi for the next coming 6 months or so. We're going to keep ramping things up. Don't forget to go to nps.com and get your tickets for the NASCAR race. Watch for us. We'll have some amazing guests coming in the coming weeks as we get back on track to Tuesdays. I don't know, Adam, what am I forgetting?
I think we need to – well, I want to thank the viewers for great participation tonight. This show runs so much better when you guys get involved and feed us some stories and give us your opinions. I think, Clinton, we need to do a better job of doing polls throughout the week. Like, we should be saying who should be the grand marshal for that race, and there should be a week-long discussion. So come next Tuesday at lunchtime, you and I regroup with Spencer and we say, okay, here's where the discussion went this week. Obviously, this is what we need to talk about. So I think we need to work on that going through the week and getting people engaged. But viewers, you did an awesome job tonight. Thank you for participating. It makes our job a whole lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, it's funny. I just pulled up our talk, and my message to you around 8 o'clock tonight was, we don't. What do we say?
We're a little light. We're a little light tonight.
Yeah. I said, do you have any topics you want to talk about? Because we're a little light tonight. And it seems like on the nights when we feel like we're not coming in fully loaded, we end up pulling off some of our best chats. So as you mentioned, great to have everybody's participation. We really appreciate it. So don't forget.
And what did we agree on? Yep.
What did we agree on?
We said, let's just talk until it gets boring. We'll go through topics until it gets boring. And once it's boring, let's shut it down. We don't have to go, like this show is not a 1 hour show. This show is designed to go until we have nothing else to talk about. And the reason we cut it off at about an hour is because normally we go to our iRacing segment, to our Rivalz Pro Elite. The show could be 30 minutes. If it was 30 entertaining minutes, Clinton, and then we're done, so be it. As long as it's entertaining time. Tonight, we're at about 57 minutes. I think it's about time. We've run through the topics. It's been a good time, and you can shut it down. So that's the nice thing. It's not like radio or television where you have a certain amount of time to fill. We're blessed to have an audience, and hopefully we keep them until we're done, and they stay until we're done. And if you run out of people listening, you've obviously run out of things to say.
Well, there's a good chance if you're watching this show, you know how to get hold of Adam and I through social media or other channels. Send us your questions or comments. We'd love to hear from you. And let's keep this rolling. Don't forget, we'll be back next Tuesday night at our regular time, 9 p.m. Thanks a lot to Spencer for all of his amazing work as usual. Thanks, Adam, for joining us. My name's Clinton Jeffrey. We appreciate everybody stopping by, and stay around. We'll have some great stuff coming up in the coming weeks. Have a good night.